of students asked me questions about this particular problem, and so I thought that I would just go ahead and oops, that makes it too much, and help you out with it in case you're getting stuck. The problem that is giving everybody a little angst and consternation here is about the trucks and the probability that one of the trucks is not going to be here. Okay, now they give you some pieces of information in here, and remember that labeling is very, very important, and this sets the stage for later chapters where that's going to become even more important. So it says the probability of the first truck, and I'm just going to kind of write this down here. I'm going to say probability, and I'm just going to call the first truck A. I mean, you could call it W if you wanted. I don't know. But I'm going to call it A. They say the probability of the first truck being available is 0.85. Now, I tend to write this like this, 0.85. And it says the probability of the second truck being available. Okay, so in both cases, the probability being available is 0.45. Okay, and then they say that the probability of both trucks being available, so I'm going to say the probability of A and that's a very key phrase there, A and B being available is 0.32. Okay, now what this really means, when you think about it, I know your book has used the good old Venn diagrams. Do you remember good old Venn diagrams? Venn diagrams always start out with a box like this, and then you'll see two circles, okay? And one of the circles might be like this, and one of the circles, try to do them the same size here, might be like this, and they might call, those circles are supposed to be the same size. They might call this circle A, and they might call that circle B. Now, in this particular case, you have two probabilities. Okay, I'm going to kind of copy here, bear with me. You have the probability that this event is going to occur, and then you also have this other probability that this event is going to occur. But there's absolutely no overlap in those two events occurring. And that is not at all the situation that we have here. See if I can easily reverse that. The situation that we have here is that our two events, oops, let me fix my copying tool here. Our two events overlap. So what that means is that if we have 0.85 over here and we have 0.45, then during some of that time, both trucks are actually available. Now, how much of that percentage? Well, they tell us right here, and I'm going to have to actually draw an arrow here if I can. Whoops, let me get the proper arrow tool. They tell us right here that overlap, and let me try to make this clear for you because I don't want anybody to get confused. They tell us that the amount of overlap that we have is this 0.032. Now, what does that mean, overlap? And let me color in that overlap. What that overlap means is that 0.032 is part of this 0.85, and it's also part of this 0.45. So it's been added twice. Well, what do we do if it's been added in there twice? Well, if we subtract it out once, then it will still be in there, but the duplication will be removed. And that's what we want. An interesting little thing here is that when you have this overlap in your textbook, you're going to find that, oops, let me use the proper color here. You're going to find that the formula that let me start this over. The formula that your textbook is going to reference is called the general rule, in this case, of addition. You have rules of multiplication as well, but let's just talk about the general rule of addition. When they do not overlap, and let's just think about that for a minute, when they do not overlap, then you wouldn't have to subtract duplication, would you? So if they do not overlap, then A plus B simply equals 0. So they call that the special rule of addition. Well, the truth of the matter is there's nothing special about it, because all it means is that you're subtracting 0 from that, right? Well, in our case, they do overlap, so we are subtracting, so this 0.32. Now, what is the general rule of addition? And just to save myself some time, I'm going to switch over to this, which is, again, the Connect screen, because you know, hopefully, that when you submit the work, you can then go see your answers. There's a little button on the left-hand side, and if you click that button, you will see the correct answer and a display of the formula. Now, I've added just a little bit to this. So this is, as we've just discussed, this piece right here, okay, is the, in fact, I can even copy and I'll go back so I don't confuse you. This is the general rule of addition, and it simply means that I need to go up here. Now, they called theirs F and S, and I need to get my probabilities. Well, I have already done that over here, so again, I'm going to take that work. Oops, let me make sure I get it completely. So excuse me while I copy and paste here just a little bit, okay? But this is what that means. I called it probability of A, they called it probability of F, but 0.85, the probability of the first truck, plus 0.45, the probability of the second truck, and then don't forget I need to subtract out the duplication that occurred when these two circles overlapped. How do I know they overlapped? Because there's a key word that I really want you to focus on, and that word is and. Is both. When you see things like both and, that is really, really key. I tell you what, if we had, and that means this part right here underneath where I'm drawing the line. I'll tell you what, I'll draw a line below. That means this part right here, F and S. That's both and. Okay, so those two things go together. If it had said either or, then we would be working on this part. So really tune in to those words, okay? That is really important. Now, since it gave me both, that was where the 0.32 came in. That's the duplication. When I do that simple addition and subtraction, I end up with 0.98. So maybe you came up here to this probability box, came up here to this probability box and you typed in 0.98, and the system said, even if I had typed it correctly, the system said that is wrong, and the system is correct because they didn't ask the probability of one or the other truck being available. They asked the probability that neither this one nor that one. It's kind of the opposite of an either or. Well, how do we get the opposite? We have to take the complement. So this is a very common practical use of the complement. So what we do is, since 0.98 is the probability that one or the other truck will be there, 1 minus that, which is 0.02, is the probability that neither truck will be there. So I hope that helps. A lot of it is understanding these key words like both, which goes with this part of the equation, and then the either or. And again, let me just emphasize that the general rule of addition is the same as the special rule of addition. What makes the special rule special is that your circles don't overlap, therefore there's no duplication to subtract. How do you know if your circles overlap or not? There is no overlap when your events are mutually exclusive. So let me say this. When are events mutually exclusive? Imagine this. I flip a coin. The coin is either going to be heads or it is going to be tails. It can never be both at the exact same time. I roll a die. I'm going to get a number that's on that die. I'll never get two numbers at the same time. So the events are mutually exclusive. Sometimes you have to read the problem very, very carefully. That's why I give you the homework in advance of the test, so that the wording doesn't trick you up, so that you have some experience with that problem. But those are key things to look for. Both versus either or. So I hope this helps, and you're doing a great job. Focus on Chapter 5, because you know this is why we break it down at this point and test just on Chapter 5. So you're doing a great job. Keep up the good work.